everybody, welcome back to Dream Garage. Today's video is actually probably the hardest one that I've had to do for our YouTube channel yet. I thought that the Cadillac was the hardest task that I've endured, from not understanding fully what I got into to where it was an unexpected engine rebuild. And for the first time in my life, something happened that is truly a nightmare at the moment, to be honest. Obviously, you know, when you have any kind of toys, things are going to break. Things happen. Sometimes we can't explain it. You hope that you can, you wish you could, but that's part of having various things, whether it's a bike or a boat or a car. However, unfortunately, in this case, it was our boat. And yesterday we were out on the lake, and Tiffany was driving, and no, she did nothing wrong. This wasn't a human error on her behalf, but our boat stopped. It bogged down and quit. And at first I kind of thought that it was our anchor rope that somehow got caught in the engine somewhere, which wouldn't be good. I mean, obviously that would not be a positive thing. But we have a power hatch on our boat, so I asked her to open it, and when she did, there was oil everywhere. There was no flame, there was no smoke, but there was oil everywhere. And not being a mechanic, not being somebody that can understand or know what's going on, I instantly thought the worst, instantly, you know, kind of freaking out. And so luckily my parents are down here as well, and they have their own boat as well. Now, they had left about 10 minutes before we did, so they were already in a no-call zone, meaning that the cell service just isn't very good there. So we tried calling 20 times and texting and whatever we could, knowing that at some point they were going to see it, but you know, we didn't want them to get all the way up to the trailer and have to come all the way back down or what have you. So, you know, at this point we're kind of sitting ducks. We're on the first hairpin leaving Wolf River to kind of enter the main area of the lake, and like I said, not really sure what's going on, not understanding what happened, why it's happened. So they did come back and get us. I was swimming the boat the best I could for about 5 minutes. It wasn't that long, but we were starting to drift towards the bank, and, you know, not having any kind of power, the boat was not going to start. And so we had to be careful about that, but I didn't want to have us on the bank and cause damage to our hull. So he came back out. Thankfully, we have a lot of great friends and family down here. We actually have a couple that's visiting us right now, and I felt sick to my stomach because, you know, I take everything pretty hard and feel responsible for everybody around me that I'm, you know, have down or whatever the case may be. And we got it into this nice spot, went up to a mechanic that we have known forever. He's been a mechanic down here at Wolf River since 1972, if I remember correctly, but he has been independent since 92. So he's been doing this a long time. I think he told my dad he's going on his 49th season, which is a long time. He came down, and as soon as I told him what happened, he goes, well, your oil filter probably blew off. He said those high output motors running 100 foot-pounds of pressure, he said, you know, those things can untwist on those high powered motors and it can blow. And he said, so when that oil filter came off, that's why your oil's all over the place. But he said it might be okay. He said if we put new filter on it, put new oil in it, if there was a safety on the motor, shutting the rest of it down properly, he said it might not have done any damage, and that's what we're gonna hope for. So he came out there, looked at it, said, yep, that's what happened. And so the next morning he came up, he put oil in it, made sure it was the correct, you know, type of oil. It was a synthetic, made sure that he had the filter on, the correct filter, and it won't turn. So now we are under the impression that it is a bigger issue. He thinks that there's something with the, I don't know if he said the cam ring or something with the starter or the ignition ring or something like that. I'm not a mechanic, so I apologize up front. But so he said we need to get this thing apart. It's going to have to come out, and we're going to have to see what's going on. And as a boat owner, somebody that's been around boats for as long as I have, obviously this is the nightmare scenario, short of a boat being set on fire, you know, from an engine fire or something of that magnitude. Obviously there's always can be something worse happen, but this is one of the worst things that can happen on the water. And I didn't know whether to, you know, be in tears all day, whether to puke, whether to be what have you. So it's been a pretty frustrating day. Right now I'm in the process of getting the stuff we need, because I have to clean all that oil out of the boat, because you don't want it going through under in the boat and things like that. So I got to pull it out, we got to clean it, and start the rebuild process, see what's going on, what caused it, how can we help prevent this from happening again, how can I be more educated to be better with this in the future. Maybe there was nothing I could have done. Maybe you know, the oil filter turned a lot, I don't know. But I'm going to put some blame on myself for not understanding fully what I could have done to help prevent a situation like this. So this is definitely not a cheap fix. It's definitely not a good time for this with everything else going on. But, you know, at the same time, nobody got hurt. The engine didn't blow up. I mean, so it definitely could have been worse. The one thing I do want to point out, and there's two quick things I want to mention, and I didn't say this up front because I wanted to get through kind of the steps to where we're at the moment. You know, the boating community for the most part is phenomenal. There is a ton of people that are willing to help others, willing to stop, willing to say, hey, do you need a hand? Anything like that. And we try to do the same thing. I mean, you know, you don't want to see somebody stranded out there, especially, you know, when they're already on, you know, an unknown territory. They're already feeling upset, and, you know, what do I do, and how do I get back to shore, and how do I make sure my people are safe? And, you know, it's a scary moment when you're without power in the middle of the lake. It really is. There's been a couple times where my dad's had that problem over the years with his boat. Luckily he never had a motor do this, but, you know, it could have been an electrical issue or what have you, and it puts the captain, the owner of the boat, in kind of turmoil for a moment, not understanding. You know, it could ruin a vacation, it could ruin the weekend, whatever the case may be, even if it's just a day, trying to figure everything out. Now you're in, you know, panic mode. You know, how much is this going to cost? How do I get this done? How do I get it fixed? So the last thing you want is people driving by you acting like you're not there, or even if you start seeing people smiling or laughing, even if they are not laughing at you, because you don't know that for sure. Sometimes you take it personal just because you're like, hey, I'm out here stuck and you guys are just looking right at me, laughing and moving on. You know, don't be that guy, don't be that girl, don't be that community. I mean, this, you know, we all take the risk every time we go out there. And unfortunately, until my parents got back, that is exactly what happened to us. To the point where I was actually in the water pulling it with a rope on the front of the boat myself. If I ever saw somebody in the water pulling the front of their boat, knowing that's not a swim zone, that's not where people swim, I'm stopping every time. Can I help you tow you in? Can I, you know, help just keep you afloat until somebody gets here? You know, whatever it takes, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to leave you out here already in an amount of stress to worry about that on top of it. And we had at least 10 boats go by us, and not one person stopped. Not one person said, hey, are you okay? We had our engine hatch open for the first 5 to 10 minutes. You know, we had all the signs that we were in need of help, that we were in need of something. At that point, we hadn't gotten a hold of my parents. So, you know, at any point, you know, it could have been another half hour, it could have been an hour, Thankfully, like I said, my parents were down here. They do have their own boat, so we are able to continue the vacation. Overall, it's still a sucky situation, a very hard situation, but at the same token, it's just been a nightmare in that regard. But I want you to understand our story, because a lot of times when the boat's running right, everybody's happy. I mean, it's paradise. There's nothing like it. But when something happens, you never know when that could be you, and you want that favor returned to you when you're not doing well. Your boat's not running, something's happened. All it takes is that one person to change your whole trip to at least, hey, can I help you? Can I do something? Can I pull you guys in? Whatever the case may be. It might be a little inconvenient for your schedule, but until you're the one in that situation, it's worth the extra half hour or what have you to help somebody, knowing that, hey, at any moment this could be me as well. So wanted to just kind of give you guys a backstory of the situation. I'm going to get the boat cleaned up here. My parents and friends and Tiffany and I are going to get the boat on the trailer. My dad has to tow it over to the ramp, and then we have to get it on there, and I have to start cleaning. The other thing I did not put in the Cumberland Run story that I want to touch on real quick. So I talked to you guys about Joe and Leslie that we met down at Cumberland. Super nice couple. We stay in contact with them. Actually invited them down here for our day of holo trip. I don't know if they'll bring their boat now or if they're going to still be able to come, knowing we don't have our boat anymore right now. But a half hour after we left the day of the Thunder Run, so that evening from the dock, a houseboat hits the side of his boat, and the throttle was wide open in idle zone, and he was docked. He wasn't moving. He wasn't in a situation where the houseboat shouldn't have been able to see him. They were yelling at the driver of the houseboat, and he plows right into the side of it. And he texted me the next morning and said, if your boat would have still been connected a half hour later, he said he would have sunk your boat. Now, do we know if he really would have sank it or not? I don't know. That's not the point. But, we got lucky in that situation. Our friends were in their boat when this happened. So it's definitely a scary situation. Not only did the houseboat do that, but the driver of the houseboat left. Didn't stop, didn't ask if they were okay, didn't apologize, none of that. And a mutual friend of his jumps on the boat with him. They go after this guy. Luckily, he was still able to drive the boat. It wasn't totaled, in a sense of the boat was still, being able to be driven. And they tracked the guy down in a slip, and he was intoxicated. And at first defending himself, blaming it on the engine, blaming it on something else, not taking responsibility, not saying, hey, I'm really sorry. I didn't know this was going on. I didn't know what to do. I was out of control of the boat. I should have stopped. There was none of that. It was almost in defense of what he did. And it took to the very end of the conversation and some heated words, and I wasn't there, but this was what I was told, that finally the guy apologized and calmed down. I let you guys know this to say that, boating is a very dangerous thing. So it's not just about having fun, and a lot of people like to drink when they're out there, but people drowned from drinking and not paying attention. One mistake can do that. Boat accidents happen a lot from that. So please be responsible. Please, don't drink and drive. Don't, if you want to have fun and you want to drink on the water, either give yourself acceptable time before you get back in the driver's seat, which is hours after you're drinking, or don't drive. Let somebody else drive that's sober. Our family's not big on drinking anyway, so it's never been a problem for us. But, mistakes happen as you're sober. I mean, things can happen on an accident that you don't realize can happen. An engine can be left locked in, or, not understanding how to drive it, or maybe it's your first time and, you run into somebody. As embarrassing as that can be, at least stop and make sure they're okay and apologize and ask if there's anything you can do. Take it from there. But don't be one of these guys on the lake that acts like idiots. And, I was devastated for him, and I wish I was there to help, but I don't know what I could have done. But this is just kind of a cry out for people to say, be responsible, be respectful, have some etiquette on the water. That seems to not be a thing anymore for the majority of boaters. And yeah, it needs to be. I mean, you might not see somebody drive too close to that boat and run somebody over and kill them. I mean, this is serious stuff. So I'm giving you these guys these examples to just let you know that, you know, hey, I've been on the side where I've helped people, and I've been on the side where we've received help, and now I've been on the side where we haven't. And until my parents got there, so we ultimately did, but you know what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna go get the boat out. Parents are waiting on me, wife's waiting on me, and we're gonna get to cleaning. So I'll keep you guys posted. You'll see some pictures of everything here. All right, we are on day 3 of diagnosing or waiting, however you want to put it. So we did do some major work on the engine bay to at least clean out the old oil, because almost all oil came out of it. So this engine takes about 8 quarts, so it's a lot of oil, which is a big engine. It needs it. But as you guys have already seen what it looked like when it happened. Huge shout out to my buddy Kyle, to my brother-in-law Kevin, who you guys have met on Motor Madness events, my father, Dean, and myself. We went through here, clean this engine up. So the bay is a lot better than what it was. I mean, up here was all just dazzled in oil. Everything was oiled, as you guys have seen in pictures. So it is cleaned up a ton. However, if you guys can see or not, after 2 times of spraying, 2 sittings, I guess is the right way to put it, of sitting here, spraying out the motor, using Dawn. If you guys have never had known kind of what to use for a degreaser oil, Dawn is amazing. I mean, it got everything out of here. Just spray, let it sit, and then spray out with water. So unbelievable how well Dawn dish soap does for something like this. At this point, other than what's in the very bottom that you guys just saw, the bay's cleaner than probably what it's been since we got it. I mean, it's just, you know, in a lot better shape. So we've got all that done. The engine just clicks once and that's it. So huge shout out to my buddy Joe Hughes, who has called multiple times since he found out the news, trying to see if there's any ideas that we can do to make sure that maybe, hey, it's not the motor, maybe it's a starter, what have you. And there's not a head bolt on the crank pulley. And so on that pulley, there's 4 of them on that motor as far as different pulleys. And you got to be able to turn the whole system. And I can't get it to do anything. So trying to turn it with your hand on something this big, it just doesn't, it's not going to move. I don't have enough force behind it, and the wheel's small, so you can't get multiple hands on it either. So I don't know if it's seized or not. We're going to assume that it is. That's kind of the assumption with it not doing anything, but obviously we're praying that it's not that big a deal, but I don't see another way around that. So I wanted to show you actually in the engine bay, show you what work we have done. We are waiting for the morning to get a hold of Freddie, based on being July 4th. I mean, you know, we don't want to ruin somebody's holiday or expect them to try to help us when they're, you know, trying to enjoy Independence Day. So, you know, Shoemakers opens up tomorrow, who built this motor. We're going to give him a call, tell him what happened, see if there's any ideas, or maybe there's something that we're missing. And then we'll definitely be getting hold of Freddie. He thinks he might have found somebody that will do the rebuild. It's the last thing I expected on this boat. We bought it turnkey. It's been turnkey truly since we bought it. We've had it for 2 summers. We're very conservative on how we run it. We don't run it full bore all the time. It's just not feasible. It's not healthy for the motor. I mean, you know, you have to take care of these motors, but on a freak accident like this, there's no telling to what damage could be done. So definitely a lesson learned when it comes to the oil distributor. I've never heard in my life of an oil distributor just blowing off for the oil filter just kind of unscrewing itself. So such a disappointment in that, but hard, a lot of money lesson learned for me to check that. Being new to mechanic style things, this is something that I have to kind of learn and take responsibility for. So you know, like I said, as disappointing and as heartening as this has been, I want to take just a second and show some thankfulness to my family and my friends that were here. You know, the support, the efforts. I mean, we had to have it towed over to the trailer. It took 3 of us, my dad, Kyle, and I, to get the boat on correctly, because I had to be down further to get the boat on the trailer, but then it would float until we pulled up. So it was getting on all crooked. It wasn't on the right side of it. It was really frustrating, but we were able to eventually get that done. Then we came up here for at least an hour, if not 2, cleaning the engine bay, getting the old oil out as best we could. And it took us till about 9:30 last night from about 7 to actually get this done. So today was just kind of a refresher, and then right now just checking to see if there's maybe a leak. Maybe there is a hose popped off that we haven't seen, and we just diagnosed that looking through. We didn't see anything, but that doesn't mean that's not the case. There's a ton of hidden wires in here, hoses, things like that. So not being a mechanic, it's hard for me to really look around it and see, okay, that's where this should go, that's where this should go, here's where we need to look. And Freddie was pretty confident when he heard the click, what he knows what's going on. So that's the next step. I really appreciate the ongoing support to all of you, and a huge shout out to, like I said, my family, my friends Kyle and Riley, my parents, huge support. We've been able to get out every day because their boat's on the water. My brother-in-law Kevin, my sister Jordan. It's just been amazing, and this is the part of the video where it's more on the positive side of, you know, having a village to help you. If it wasn't for them, I don't know that we'd be on a trailer right now. I don't know that we would have made it safely back to camp. I mean, you know, I'm sure eventually somebody would have helped us, because I don't want people to think that I think that all boaters are not helpful, because that's not the case. As I said in the beginning of the video, 90 to 95% of people that boat are very helpful, understand the concern, understand the risk that we take, knowing that this can happen, and willing to help others. But, you know, it was just an unfortunate situation that I wanted to bring to light, because a lot of boaters that have been seasoned in this can talk to you and tell you that there's not near the etiquette you used to be. And there's just a lot more people that kind of fend for themselves and don't really look out for others. And in our scenario, until my parents got there, unfortunately, that's what I endured. So just wanted to bring that to light, and how to be responsible on the water, because like I said, it's a dangerous thing. You have to be careful. There's nothing better to me than being on the water. There's nothing better than that feeling. And there's so many great people we've met through here. Again, shout out to Joe for making the calls, calling down here multiple times, checking in, making sure we're okay, giving me ideas. Maybe there's something I'm not thinking of. He knows the lack of mechanic inspirations or experience that I have, so he's willing to take the time out of his day to call and ask, hey, try this, what do you think about this, do this, and let me know. Just an amazing thing. So you know, we're still, thankfully, because we're down here at the same time, we're going to be able to be on my parents' boat, still go out on the water. We're about to go see fireworks for the 4th of July. I hope everybody's having a great Independence Day. When you see this, obviously it will have passed, but it's during the time of filming, so I wanted to say that as well. Motor Madness 2023, August 27th. We are so excited about the growth. I think that this is going to be a really big event. If you can't make it, please at least watch the video, share it, subscribe, like the video. It helps us grow. We're a continuously small channel trying to grow, trying to make new contacts, make new friendships, and make this even bigger than what we can do. So really excited about those opportunities. Thank you guys if you've gotten to this point. It is just amazing support that you guys have given us, and we will see you guys in the next one.